Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Husqvarna Viking, keeping the world sewing for over 140 years.
Hi, and welcome to Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community. I'm Lori, and with me today is Mary Kate. Mary Kate is going to talk to us about the triple pinwheel block, which is so versatile and not really too complicated.
It's not. And I was introduced to this block when writing a pattern for a quilt by Pam Rocco, who is one of our regular columnists, and she writes the Words to Quilt By column, in which she talks about taking an idea and running with it and trying it in various configurations and ideas. And so we patterned one of those quilts called Simple Pinwheel, which is available as a free download from our website. But she uses this triple pinwheel block. And in order to write the pattern, I wanted to test it because I'd never made one before.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing. So much fun. Of course, we always, we have a pattern, but this is a block. If you keep a couple of things in mind, it will be very easy to size it up, size it down, make with it what you will. So, and this is a sample of it right here in front of us. This is one of the samples that I made at home out of my stash.
Okay.
So, yeah, a lot of fun. But first, I think we should talk about just a basic single pinwheel, just in case, you just never know. So let's pull these over. Regular pinwheels, or just pinwheel blocks as we typically call them, made with half-square triangle units, which two triangles put together, and the typical way in which we make these, we'll just go over it really quickly, is you put your two squares, you take squares of a given measurement. In this case, it's 6.5 inches, which I think we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yes.
But, and you place them right sides together, draw a line from corner to corner, pin if you care to, and then stitch 1/4 inch on either side of the line, cut down your center line, and you end up with your half-square triangle units. And let's just
And each of those units makes two.
Right. So you need to do this twice to get a pinwheel block. So let's just lay these out. Maybe help me, because nope. I know how to do this. What? Nope. Yep. Okay. And is that it? Did I get it?
That's it.
All right. So you would join these together, and there is your basic pinwheel block.
A regular pinwheel.
But we talked about how these were cut at 6.5 inches. And typically when we write a pattern for half-square triangle units, we have you cut them at 7/8 of an inch above your finished size.
Right.
So this is not going to make a 12-inch block.
Correct.
So get used to it.
Yeah, that's just how it is.
We'll touch on that again later, but just be aware. So to make this block, you need 3 strips of 2 fabrics each. So 3 strips each of 2 fabrics. That's probably a better way to put it. I used pre-cut 2.5 inch strips, and in fact the pattern was written for 2.5 inch strips, which will finish, and when they're put together, at 6 inches,
right, plus
your 1/2 inch seam allowance. So again, it's not going to finish at 12 inches. But you join them like this, so 2 of fabric A and 1 of fabric B, 2 of fabric B, 1 of fabric A.
Okay.
And then this is where the math comes in. This is really the only place that you really have to think about it. And this is where you can size it up or size it down.
Right.
So if you used 3.5 inch strips, your band would finish at 9 inches wide or high. So you'd want to cut your segments 9.5 inches wide.
Right.
So you want to end up with a square. That's basically what it is.
Exactly.
You want to end up with a square. So let's toss the band over to the side. And so that's what I did here. And a handy dandy hint I learned from Lori is if you layer your bands together and already have your seams nested in place, it's going to make it really easy to just cut, and then your units are exactly where they need to be. You don't have to think about it anymore.
Right.
So you could just lay your rotary ruler. Let's just demonstrate. This is a nice one because it's 8 inches wide, so you can line that up. As you can see, I cut it pretty well. And these are ready then to mark and to stitch. I don't need to do anything more with them, right?
Right.
So it's helpful for me to position them vertically with the stripes going away from me. And then I tilt it a little bit. And with pinked edges, it's a little hard to know exactly where the corner is.
Yes.
But, you know, this is, like I said, it's sort of an improvisational block. I'm not going to sweat it too much. And then you mark your line from corner to corner.
And because you're working with the bias, it's trying to wiggle around a little bit.
Yeah, so take your time. Don't rush through it the way I am doing it right now. Do it as well as you need to. That shows it nicely. I did pin these because I wanted to try to keep these from slipping, the little nested seams.
Yeah, it's important that this match when you open it up.
It really, again, it's going to do so much of the work for you.
Exactly.
So pin as much as you feel you need to. I just usually put in like one pin on each side and called it a day. And then we ended up with, let's fold one of these so we can see, again, after you cut them apart, they just open up and it's just, there it is.
And you nested your seams so they just match beautifully.
And let's just lay these out then. And the placement for this block is all of your little triangles go in the center. Oh, going back to the marking, before I forget. You could play around with it. I haven't yet, but I make a point of making sure that I'm marking in the same direction each time. So if I'm starting at this upper left corner and going to the lower right, I'm going to do that for my next set, because as we said, you need to do this twice for each block you want to make. It might be interesting to play with cutting it the opposite direction, because your squares are going to come out possibly looking different.
Yeah,
See,
I don't know.
That's why even though this block itself is not super improvisational, it offers me more like, well, I wonder what would happen if I did this.
Right.
What would happen if I had 3 different fabrics? What would happen if I had these 2 matching and these 2 matching?
Right.
What if, what if, what if? And that's where the play
Yes.
comes in and the improvisational aspect comes in. And that's pretty much it.
We wanted to show them
Oh, right.
a couple of other things
Yeah.
that you'd done.
So this was me, like I said, I went home and I decided I needed to just make one. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to make another one. And then I thought, I'm going to make another one, because if you look at Pam's simple pinwheel quilt, she only made a handful
Right.
of these. And then she made a handful of regular single pinwheel blocks, interspersed with solid squares. One of the blocks isn't even full size, and so she added strips.
And that's just part of the fun of what
Yeah.
Pam does, is she just plays around until she likes what she has.
Yeah. And it's coming from a real artistic background,
Yes.
and she really does think about these things. So everything that you see, even if it's a happy accident, the fact that it's there is deliberate.
Yes.
Either she wanted to put it in or she decided she could live with it.
Right.
But she's very aware of what she does, and
Yes.
it's just a really great continuing lesson for me, working with her on how to incorporate that sense of play and exploration into everyday quilt making.
Yes.
So I really appreciate having that as part of my day job, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun that it doesn't always have to be exactly according to the rules.
So all you would want to do with this is just make sure, well, again, I'm about to say make sure this, but then maybe not. You know, I was going to say make sure that your strips are equal width, but then
What would happen
what
if you
would happen if you didn't? Now your seams might not meet up. They probably wouldn't meet up in the same way, but that would be an interesting look too.
Yeah, it would. See?
So much to play with now.
Exactly. Now we need to go have fun.
We do. So much to investigate. Again, what would happen if? What would happen if? I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Mary Kate.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us. I'm so glad you came. We'll see you next time.
Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Husqvarna Viking, keeping the world sewing for over 140 years.